joined the ACT Police on the 16th of March 1959 and what did I had? I'd had about 33 or 34 years I think of service, most of it, well some of it in the ACT and of course in 79 then with the AFP. I was part of the first class that did its, of the ACT Police that did their training actually here in Canberra. Prior to that, the recruits used to go to either Melbourne or Sydney for their training, but the decision was made here to do a course, to actually conduct a course here. It was done at the old drill hall that was in well, just not far from Civic. When we came out of class, we went to general duties straight off, you know, after that 8 weeks. So we were there I went to general duties with the others. At that particular time, the other members, and I think the strength of the ACT Police at that particular time would have not been many over 40 in number. And then we graduated and came in there and it cut the overtime out, and they were all a little bit upset about that because there was more of us around that the overtime would go. I relieved Heck Holmesby, who was then doing the photography for the force at that particular time, doing the accidents and prisoners photos and you know, crime scenes, and I relieved him and ultimately went into the CIB and started what today you would call your forensic area. After completing my detective training, which was a 3-month course, I spent then a further 6 weeks, both, well, the first 6 weeks in the Fingerprint Bureau in Victoria, and the second 6 weeks I was with in the forensic, went to their forensic area, and you know, learnt from them, you know, what crime scene examination from a forensic point of view and a fingerprint point of view. Something that a fellow named Len Powley, who was, I think, Chief Inspector, he was 2IC of ACT Policing under Ted Richards, and the association were looking for, they wanted heaters in cars. And Len Powley said that if we put heaters in the cars, we'll never get them out of it. And talking to others just recently, it was heaters in cars, then air conditioning in cars, and it is difficult to get out of a nice environment and, you know, walk around the street in a great coat or something like that. Yeah. I'll never forget, Maury Blaylock was working with us in the scientific area, and he noticed a couple of things. One particular, well, certainly there was two I remember, that Dave Kennymore, who was one of our great mates in the place, was in the credit union with us, a director, and you know, and he's still a great fella. And anyhow, but Dave used to go up to the mess room and he'd have boiled eggs, and he'd get it out and he'd ceremoniously roll the egg around the table and peel it, and you know, he'd have a boiled egg with his meal. And he used to, at home, well anyhow, on this occasion he got the egg out of his lunchbox, put it down on the table, rolled it round, it ran everywhere. It was a raw egg. And Blaylock's there bursting at the seams, laughing of course. And poor David's there and he's saying, I just can't understand it. He said, I take 5 eggs out for the week and I put them, you know, boil them, put them in the fridge in the same place. I just can't understand how this got in there. But of course Blaylock knew something about it. I think I was fortunate, you know, to serve when I did. I'm not saying it's any different today, but you know, we've retained the friendships. I mean, it was, sometimes were rocky, of course they were in those sort of places, but we're very fortunate to have served when I did, I think, to experience the things that we did, both in the ACT and later in the AFP. You know, people say to me, you know, quite often, would you, I'll bet you're pleased you're not in it now, and I don't share that at all. I'd be just as happy in it today as I was back then, and all I hope is that the people in it today share the same experiences we have, and they finish up with, in their later life, you know, being able to have the great camaraderie with the people we serve, which I've been fortunate to do.